It's a Duel Masters squad. It's Lucas here, and I want to share a story with you about one of my most interesting control decks that I had at the time. At the time, I mean in years 2014, 2013, I guess, 2014. I had been playing a lot for controls, FORBOS. It's a very fun deck when you play it, but not when somebody plays against it, I guess. Um, the story goes like this. I stopped playing Duel Masters in 2015. I wanted to focus more on just studying. My goals at that time was to graduate from college, so that was my prime priorities at that time. Somebody else from the window. I'm sorry about that. So I had been selling a lot of Duel Masters cards in 2015. Therefore, one of the buyers that responded to my offer was apparently the Gauntlet, which is the most famous YouTuber now when it comes to Duel Masters, besides Earth Power, of course. But the topic of discussion was like that I provide some cards that I owned, and I wanted to trade them off.
What's going on, guys? Jason here, and I am back with the penultimate historical deck profile. Today's deck is going to be the deck that came first at the Poland National Championships in 2006. The way I came across this list was I was browsing eBay for some Duel Masters auctions, and eventually when you're scrounging around for deals, you manage to strike up a conversation with the seller. So the eBay seller was mleko1993. Well, basically, I was just asking him for some cards, and he's like, "You have a full list of cards." And oh, by the way, I actually won nationals in my country nearly 10 years ago. Would you like would you like my deck list? And I'm like, "Yeah, hell yeah, why not?" So yeah, this is the list that he gave me, and for just by looking at it, it sort of makes sense. So I'm just gonna take his word for it. So here we go, Polish Nationals 2006. Based on the cards that he has included in his list, I'm willing to hazard a guess that this was up until DM12, just because it includes Farzi the Oracle, DM12 being Thrash of the Hybrid Mega Creatures. He plays 48 cards, and it's a 4-civ control deck, plays Fire, Light, Water, and Darkness. No Foul, however. The topic had driven into kind of different direction, and I mentioned about this 2006 Polish Nationals. I had no idea how the hell I come up with something like that, because in 2006 I was like 13, so I couldn't even travel alone. I could, but it wasn't safety anyway. So I provided a deck list to him, and he talked about it in very extensive and profound discussion. I found it interesting to just add 2 pennies to that story, which is very cool. And so that's the story. That's basically it. That's Duel Masters deck. I am going to show you a new version from 2021. The original version was from 2013. Just look at that. Look how Duel Masters evolve between those years, and how cheap the cards were at that time, because the Ball Meteors was like $40. Basically, I trade off my all English Ball Meteors for like, I don't know, $160. But when I look at the eBay and those prices, which are approximate like $100,000 for Ball Meteors, that's ridiculous. But just look at the story. It's a great story. It's a great deck. And after the story, I'm going to provide you just an update of this deck. And have fun. Take care. Cheers. So that's the deck.
they had been playing between years 2013-2014. Almost identical as the original one, however with a few exceptions. For example, like no cranium clamp. There is a Gauntlet Nightmare instead of those copies. Melnia is a great card. It's a significant trader when it comes to trading with Ball Meteors and other just tremendous creatures. 2 copies of Bloody Squito as the original version. 2 copies of Emerald, 2 copies of Spiral Gate, 4 copies of Sarius Vizier of Suppression, 4 Gauntlet Nightmare, Cranium Clamp in 2021. It's very expensive card. I cannot afford it for a copy, but this deck requires 2 or even more, so I said no to Cranium Clamp. I won't spend $40 for a copy. That's way too much. But Gauntlet Nightmare is fair enough, a good card. No FORBOS Sanctuary Guardian, therefore I have 2 copies of Logic Loop. You will see there's a Fal Iga Dawn Guardian, and in the previous version there was no Fal. But I think it's a great substitution because Fal Iga can enable you to return a spell from a graveyard, so we can just choose, we can search for any card in our deck thanks to the Logic Cube, and then return, thanks to the return effect of the Fal Iga, we can just take back from graveyard any spell. 2 copies of Energy Stream, 2 copies on Phantom Dragon's Claim to Firefighter Magnus. Firefighter Magnus is a great stopper when it comes to destroying opponent who like to play Rush decks. 2 copies of Trash Crawler. Trash Crawler is a suitable version, and it's a great substitution of substitution for Flute Value. Flute Value is 2 mana spell that I had played in the past, but Trash Crawler is a great blocker. I think it's a better option in this deck than playing a Flute Value. 2 copies of Brain Serum, just a normal draw. 3 Locomotive, so now this deck is more cohesive than it was in the past, because as I mentioned in the Gauntlet comment that I had multiple decks, like 12 or 13, so there was many decks I had been playing, and in some of these decks there was a full playsets of Gigabalza, full playset of Locomotive, and in the past just only 2 copies of Locomotive were left and 1 copy of Gigabalza, so it was not cohesive, knowing that I'm playing 1 copy of Zombie Carnival, but now you have more consistent version of this deck with 3 Locomotives. Fal Iga, of course, I mentioned it. I have mentioned a few seconds ago about it. Zombie Carnival, great card. If I had Morbid Medicine, I would definitely play it. Very flexible card. 2 copies of Holia, of course, one of the greatest cards in the game. Tap all opponent's creatures. 2 Board Shot, just kind of rush, anti-rush card. Blizzards of Spears, very great with a combo with the Fal Iga. That's a great combination. 3 copies of Therapy. 3 copies is, I guess, fine. I don't want to play 4 of them, therefore there's a 1 copy of Blizzards of Spears, so I just split 3 copies of Therapy and 1 copy of Blizzards of Spears. I think it's fair enough, just kind of 1 for 1 removal spell and massive removal spell with the same mana. It's totally okay. 1 Lost Soul, 1 Apocalypse Vice, and 2 copies of Balmitius Steel Dragon. So there are multiple combo in this deck. This deck or not, this is a 2013 deck that I used to play. It's totally fine if you're a pilot of this deck, not if you play against it. Just share your idea, share your opinion, and